How's it going, everyone? It's me, Deus, making a rant video, and I kind of want to talk about meta and PvP because it's quite an interesting topic, and I want to stir up a little discussion here. Now, when talking about the meta, the main talking points I really have is one, I don't understand the super hyper fixation on the meta in PvP in this game. Now, I do understand that there probably will always be a meta, and there probably won't be a time in which a meta isn't a thing. But the thing I don't quite understand is the super hyper fixation on it. When something is meta, when there's sets that are meta in this game, it'll be so prominent to the point where you won't have a singular fight without someone using this particular thing. Uh, the current meta, for example, Mara's Bomb, I imagine there's probably not a single fight that you'll encounter without a single person not running that set. You won't find at least one person in any fight that's not running it at any given time. And I find that quite interesting to a degree, but I don't quite understand it. Now, when it comes to talking about the meta, I'm like the one person that's not an absolute meta hopper. Like I'm the type of person that still runs willpower in 2023. On this sorcerer gameplay you're watching right now, I am using willpower on this guy. So I'm one of the two people still using willpower. And hell, I even use Oaken Soul sometimes when I PvP. I recently uploaded like a Templar video where I was using Oaken Soul, and it's not terrible. So I mean, I'm not gonna say I've run off meta all the time. I do run meta sets every now and again, but I just don't like using the same mechanics on every class for every single time I go on PvP. I have to switch it up. I like to fundamentally change how my gameplay feels and plays and how I play into the mechanics. But there's some people who will just run the same mechanics on every single class, and you're basically just playing around with the same thing all the time. And I always find it interesting how people don't get boring doing that. Like when Dark Convergence became a thing, that was obviously everybody in PvP was running it, and there wasn't a single fight without it. And there's some people still to this day, before Necro gets nerfed, there are people that have ran the Dark Convergence Necro from the day it became a thing until the day it dies when they change Harmony. And I just find it so astounding how people can just play that like consistently and not get tired of it. Like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to me. And another thing that I also find quite interesting is sometimes the meta doesn't even shift in the way you would expect it to. Like, for example, when they first buffed Dragon Knight back during Deadlands in 2022, I believe that was, or 2021? I think it was 2021. But when they first buffed Dragon Knight in Deadlands patch, at the time, the new sustain passive that they had in their class was like quite crazy. Like it had half a second cooldown timer, and you would get 2k magic every half a second, and it was quite strong. And at that time, I was thinking, yeah, every Dragon Knight in PvP is probably going to use like Destro Staff backbar and use like Elemental Susceptibility, because at the time before it got buffed, what susceptibility did was every 6 seconds you would get a random elemental status effect, including burning, and it also procced on cast. So like if you were a Dragon Knight, you probably should have been running susceptibility at the time, because especially if you're fighting in big fights, you just hit people with susceptibility, and then you keep proccing burning status effects on you, giving yourself free magic. And especially since that's an uncapped ability, you can just put it on whoever, just essentially spam it and keep re-rolling it for magic. I made a whole video talking about that and how that was like a very strong mechanic for Dragon Knight at the time, and how I thought that people should run that on the Dragon Knight for a back bar, and how I thought it was surprising that people didn't. That was like 2 patches after they buffed Dragon Knight for the first time, and people didn't run it, and I was so surprised about that. Like, that entire shift just surprised me. You would think that would become meta, because again, it's just crazy sustain just for applying this free debuff to people, and to an uncapped amount as well. But it just didn't shift that way. No one did that. Not until the current patch, Firesong, did people really start running susceptibility in a huge to a huge degree. Not to say it's not strong. It is very powerful, and I can understand why everybody's running it now. But I would have thought Dragon Knight 100% would have run it because they were the ones that would have made it work the most because you're literally be playing into that passive, and that passive benefits you heavily. So I thought it would shift that way, but it never did. And it was honestly shocking to me that it didn't, and I was the only one that was actually abusing it at the time. And another thing I find quite interesting, two patches ago in the High Isle chapter, I want to say pretty much every fight, a lot of people in every single fight was running the Oaken Soul Ring at the time. And it was very clearly overtuned, far too powerful. Yet, once it got nerfed, I saw a lot of people saying that they were thanking Zos, saying that this was a good change, and saying that it still was quite strong and a good mythic to some degree, and it's still strong without becoming too powerful. Yet, after it got nerfed, all the people that were running Oaken Soul, they disappeared. It was all over PvP, and now it's basically non-existent in PvP. You'll never see anyone not bar swapping in PvP, and I find that so astounding because, like, I know a lot of people have that mythic. It's not like people don't have it. A lot of people have it. A lot of people have earned it. I saw a lot of people day one opening those lock boxes, yet they dropped off the face of the earth after that shit got nerfed. So many people were calling it strong without being too strong, but everybody fucking dropped off that shit so fast, and I thought that was just absolutely hilarious. I thought that was hilarious. Not even for a support build do people run it, and it makes for a really, really good healing support, but nobody's running Oaken Soul anymore, except me, because I'm crazy, obviously. But I don't know, that just blows my mind with how the meta for Oaken Soul just dropped off so fast, even though it still has good applications, just not being as powerful as it used to be. But I don't know, I think it's crazy it shifted the way it did. Now, before the all police get on my case, not all, not all, not all. Obviously, when I say nobody's running it, I am being somewhat hyperbolic. Now, I know there's probably 2 people out there using Oaken Soul, myself included. I know there's probably at least one other person out there running it, but I just want to say not all Oaken Soul users disappeared before the all police get in my comments and start getting mad at me for saying nobody's running it. Just so all you people typing right now, you can put away your keyboards. Now that I've pretty much covered like all the talking points that I wanted to talk about, let's actually get into the discussion part of this. Now, I want to discuss why meta is a thing and why it's so hyper fixated. Why do people just trash gear immediately after it gets nerfed somehow? Like, what's the cause behind it? Like, is it YouTube? Are we in the YouTube meta right now? Is that the real meta? Is it the YouTube meta or something? Like, to those people out there that are running Wardens, they're running Ice Wardens right now with like Mara's Bomb, Clever Alchemist, Rallying Cry. Yeah, I see you. All those people logging out right now, switching characters. If that's you, if you're doing that right now, let's have a discussion. Comment down below. Tell me why. Explain to me why you do what you do. Explain to me why you run the same 10 sets on every class. Why you always play the same mechanics on every class. Does it get boring to you? Do you have an explicit reason as to why you do it? Help me understand. Are the YouTubers causing it? Is there a YouTube meta going on that's causing these shenanigans? I don't know. But yeah, let's have this discussion. Put some comments down below. Help me understand. But like the video if you liked it, and dislike it if you disliked it, and that's about it. This guy really just jumped out of a fucking tower because he didn't want to die. He jumped to his death because I was attacking him from behind.